Welcome to St. Paul Inside the Walls. My name is Brian Honsberger, Director of Mission and Technology Integration for the Diocese of Paterson. I am joined by my friend, Frank DiCola, software developer, founder of Charities, which is a free volunteer management platform and network. I've noticed, Frank, that there's some problems with volunteering and getting volunteers. So in my own time trying to volunteer, I've called organizations, we've played phone and email tag. There's been paperwork involved, training, the hours that they need me and that I can volunteer haven't matched up. And what I've learned about Charities is that this program could solve those problems and many others. So can you talk about it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. Yeah, this is a problem that I noticed after graduating college, especially when you are a solo volunteer, you've left your college community where things were kind of on autopilot, where they would set up volunteering for you. Now you kind of have to go hunting for organizations. And this can really be a big issue. I think there's a lot of factors. Nonprofits are often lightly staffed with people who are working part-time hours. They're overworked, their inbox is full, the phone's ringing off the hook, and they just get overwhelmed. And this happens to a lot of organizations where, like you mentioned, the phone and email tag, they just can't really connect. And then oftentimes you finally get through to the volunteer, hey, here's when we would need you. And that volunteer realizes, oh, actually, that doesn't even work in my schedule, right? So this is a problem that I experienced from the side of the volunteer. When I started to get more involved with the local nonprofits in Hoboken, where I live, I started to get the other side of that story, right? What systems are they using to manage volunteers? How could that all be more seamless? So Charities launched back in 2020 as a simple prototype. It's a mobile app and website that allows charities to manage their volunteers. But it's really a two-sided system because on the other side, on the consumer side for volunteers, when you open the Charities app, you see a map of all of the organizations around you that are using Charities, and all of their publicly available volunteer shifts or volunteer roles are available as these little bubbles on the map. So we're really focused on getting people locally involved with the organizations right near them, churches, nonprofits, local charities, and especially we want to allow people to become these like stable pillars in their community and not have to travel super far to volunteer, because it's just human nature. If you have to drive 50 minutes to go volunteer somewhere, you're not really going to be involved in that organization that much throughout the year. But if it's a 10-minute walk down the street, okay, that's the kind of place you could be a few times a week. And that's what we see from the data that we have on Charities. So it's been working great so far.
Thanks for that. And I've also heard that it's somehow gamified,
Yes.
or that you're working on that.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
It's funny. The gamification is actually something that I thought of first, but I've had to do a lot of work on just the volunteer management side before we could get to that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like eating your vegetables before you get to dessert, right? So there's so many things that are involved in a volunteer management platform that were critical that I did in the early years. Mm-hmm. Now that I have a larger team, we're focusing on the game itself. So we don't have to go into too much detail about what that game is. It's still a little bit in flux, but we have a team of wonderful programmers at Stevens, my alma mater, and they're helping me to work on this. And the concept is to match the philanthropic data from you, the user, to your actions in the game. So we're trying not to create a game that allows people to binge, just like you could go on a streaming service and binge every episode of Lost. You could binge video games, and that's not really healthy for us, right? So what we want to do is meter your ability to play the game based on how much you volunteered or donated to the charities in our network. And if you run out of philanthropic points, you can't keep playing the game. You have to go back to volunteer and donate, right? So there's kind of this loop that's pulling people back into the world of charity, and then they get a little bit of time in the game, and then they have to come back to the world of charity. So that's a high-level view of what the game will be like. And if we produce more games, they might have different mechanics, but they'll have that same philosophy.
That sounds fun and also responsible.
Yes.
For a change. What about the cost? Do nonprofits have to pay for this, or do volunteers have to pay for this?
It's free. So it's free for volunteers. It's free for any organization that has like an annual budget under $5 million, right? So for most of the charities we're talking about, this is completely free for them. No subscriptions. We are working on some potential microtransactions in the future. But again, those will just be for things that are variable costs, right? So let's say you want to send out a text blast as opposed to an email blast. Okay, that costs us money. So it's going to cost the charity a little bit of money. So, but for the most part, all these features are free. And as we develop new features, you still get them. There's no pro tier for Charities. You get everything that we've developed as part of your free subscription. And the same thing for volunteers.
That's great. Okay, thank you. And can you show us the
Yeah,
application a little bit?
let's jump in. So I have
Is
this
this
running.
a computer app or a phone app, would you say?
So if you don't want to download the app, you can always use the website. We find that the website is a little better for older volunteers just because, they grumble sometimes. They're like, I don't want to download the app. And it's like, all right, fine, just go to the website, right? I prefer the mobile app. I think that many of my generation would because the mobile app allows you to really explore your community a bit more. So when you open Charity Quest, you're going to, it's going to set up to go to your neighborhood, whatever you set as your neighborhood. I think right now I have Hoboken and Tom's River for some reason. Oh yeah, I was setting someone up down there. But you can always switch like your favorite neighborhood to really any district where we are active, where we have at least one charity. So I go to Hoboken, and you can kind of explore the map and see, okay, who needs help, right? Like who are the people out here that have quests for us to do? So for example, here's the food pantry where I volunteer in Hoboken. We can open their page. And of course, you have some links that go off the app, the Amazon wish list, or going to the donor page, right? But once you scroll past those evergreen links, you're immediately sent into the active volunteer schedule for this organization, right? So we can see as volunteers, hey, there's some kind of distribution that's happening on this date in September, and there's 2 slots available for volunteers. And there's 2 slots available if you're a Spanish-speaking volunteer, right? So we could jump into that. And it's going to give us a really cogent and clear description of exactly what's needed from you in that shift. And so this is micro-volunteering, right? You're not committing to be with this organization for an entire year of your life. You're saying, I can show up and help you out for these hours. I'm committing to that. Now, of course, since I'm an administrator at this organization, I can actually see the names and ages of the volunteers who've signed up. Normally, you wouldn't have access to that. And if I hit the green volunteer button, boom, it's going to send me right into the schedule. I would take up that slot here. And then the volunteer coordinator gets an email right away that says, hey, Frank's coming, right? And this all updates. So now we can also make sure there aren't too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Because if this charity wants 12 people, they want 12. They don't want 3. They don't want 30, right? That's the number that works for them. So when these quests fill up, like this one did, you actually cannot sign up, right? It's full. So this is helping volunteers make smart decisions about when they should help out local organizations. And it's helping the organizations themselves know, okay, great, we have enough coverage for this delivery that's coming. We can tell the truck that we're good to go because there are going to be people to help load it into our pantry. And that's just one organization.
Nice. Now, what if somebody who signed up suddenly cancels?
Yeah.
Which happens all the time, right?
You can drop out of quests in Charity Quest. You can abandon the quest. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the gamification comes in because there's different ways of tracking this, right? So the organizations that are on our platform are required to take attendance for the volunteers that are here. And so if you're there, they mark you present, you get hours credited to you, you can send that to schools or whatever you need to do with that. If you're a no-show, let's say that you're still in the volunteer schedule and you're signed up and you're just not there, marked absent. That's a failed quest. The other way you could fail a quest is if you abandon it at like the last minute, right? So we're talking like the hour before things go live, you just bail out and you've left that charity shorthanded. So we're working on more ways to sort of like punish volunteers without punishing them so badly that they stop using the system, right? It has to be fair for everybody because there are some times where you say like, hey, sorry, like my kid has COVID now and I had to go get it from school. Like, I wanted to help out. I really wanted to volunteer and now this time doesn't work for anymore. So I can kind of see it from both sides, the side of the volunteer and the side of the charity that got screwed. And I just want to make sure it's fair for everybody. But as we develop more gamification features, there might be things where like, you late drop from a quest and your character goes to like a little jail and it's like, all right, you got to escape the jail.
A penalty box would be a
penalty box, yeah.
A hockey term. Okay, that's funny.
So you've got food pantries, you've got environmental groups, recycling groups, thrift stores need a lot of volunteers actually for pretty big shifts. Churches, of course, can use it as well. Youth organizations, pro-life pregnancy centers, like really whatever, any organization that makes effective use of volunteers, especially throughout the week, would really find this helpful.
Great. Now, there are some parishes that need volunteers for more liturgical things.
Yes.
Such as altar servers, lectors, Eucharistic ministers. Would Charity Quest fit into that need for parishes at all, do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just think of all the on-site volunteering that happens at your at your local parish, right? You have ushers that have to be there Saturday, and then there's shifts on Sunday. You might need ushers to come out throughout the week because there's a funeral or something, or a wedding, right? So, I do see a lot of churches relying on just like a WhatsApp group or a big email chain where everyone's replying all. I think a lot of organizations are kind of just managing their volunteers in a way that's fine, because it's just a way that they've been doing it for a while, but this would definitely be better for the church and for the volunteers, right? It's really clear when we need people, and it's tracking all of this so that you could put in a bulletin like halfway through the year, here's how many volunteer hours we did. Here's how many unique volunteers help out the parish. And that's a great way to then invite more people to help out.
All the statistical evidence is gathered automatically and could be shared easily. That's great.
And there's a report feature where you can generate a report that shows you where you are in the year so far and how much volunteering you've done. Now, the pushback I tend to get from these organizations is, well, we've always done it this way. It's fine. Like, what's the point of switching to a new system from the system that we have? So I call it the holy bucket problem, which sounds like it'd be good, right? Like, oh, a bucket that's holy, but like, I don't mean holy in a spiritual way. I mean like imagine a metal bucket that's full of holes, right? A kid comes up to you with this empty bucket full of holes and says, please give me some water. I really need water. And you say, well, you don't really need water right now. You need a new bucket, right? Because if I give you water, it's going to fall right through the holes in the bucket. He says, no, I know what I need. Give me some more water. Give me water. Dump the water in, goes right down onto the floor. That is what's happening with a lot of volunteer programs across America, is that they say, we need more volunteers. So they advertise, they go out there, they do ministry fairs, they put stuff in the bulletin, they make a pulpit announcement. Okay, we need more volunteers. What happens? Young people come into that group, could be ushers, could be electors, whatever. They see that the way it's managed is like super old school, and they tune out, right? They're gone in a month. And so people say, we need more volunteers. And also, how come we can't get young people to stay in this group, in this organization? What's going on? Why did they leave so quickly? The perception is that millennials and Gen Z are super flaky, right? That they just have ADHD and they're interested in something else now. I think what it really is that if your charity, if your church is not using technology in an effective way, millennials and Gen Z will perceive your organization to be poorly run. Even if it's not that poorly run, that's how they're going to see it, and they tune out, right? Like the big email chain where everyone's replying all, you're just like, unsubscribe me from this, right? Because
sign me out.
I don't want to be managed this way, right? Like it's not clear to me. Like this is a generation that's used to buying concert tickets on their phone, plane tickets on their phone, Airbnb on their phone. They also want to schedule the time they're volunteering on their phone, right? And they want to know, okay, that's the part of my week where I'm donating to this charity or this church, and the rest of the week is clear, right? Because our lives are crazy and we're super busy. So it's absolutely helpful. It's definitely necessary. There's some features we recently launched that would help with just a lot of the safe environment requirements we have at the church.
Yes.
So for example, the Sisters of Life have been using this in the Bronx for one of their storerooms. And it's a wonderful charity at St. Philip Neri Church that will give out diapers and wipes and maternity clothing and kids clothing to all the single moms in the Bronx. But of course, if you're going to volunteer at a church, you have to go through some orientation first. You have to make sure that you've done safe environment training or have a letter sent by a pastor that you did the training somewhere. So we built that into Charity Quest. There's a way where before you sign up for a quest, if the organization requires you to go through some orientation, you will do that first. You have to do that first. And I can jump in just as a fake account to show you what it looks like.
Yeah,
at
thank
St.
you.
Philip
And
Neri.
while you do it, it's at St. Paul Inside the Walls that we do all the safe environment training for the Patterson Diocese. So you can come here to St. Paul's, do the safe environment training, and then meet Frank and sign up for Charity Quest.
That's awesome. So if I go to, and the website doesn't have the map, at least not yet. So you're just kind of looking at a big list of stuff. But, suppose this random volunteer wanted to sign up for this ministry in the Bronx. The nice thing is this hypothetical volunteer can still see the schedule. So before they go through all the training, they can see if this fits into their life. It could be the case that they're just never available on Saturday afternoons. And now they're not going to waste your volunteer coordinator's time with the onboarding because they couldn't sign up even if they were approved. But when they jump into, be a Spanish translator, instead of seeing that big welcoming button that says sign up to volunteer, they instead see, hold on, cowboy, you have to do safe environment training first, and you have to review the documents that we've prepared for how this particular ministry runs. So now, instead of signing up to volunteer, I'm applying for the training. And when I apply for the training, volunteer gets an email, volunteer coordinator gets an email. So you know right away, okay, someone's interested. And there's a whole interface kind of in the back end where the volunteer coordinator can say, okay, Elle is good. She's been trained in these. Let her sign up for stuff now. So we're automating as much as we can because we know that if you're running a ministry like this, you're short on time. And there's probably a lot of other stuff you're doing throughout the week that's, a little more important. And this is like another thing that's on your plate. So we're trying to automate as much as we can for the volunteer coordinators.
That's great. That's great. Now, I noticed that right now, the majority of the organizations that are on the app are in New Jersey. Is this a New Jersey only application?
No, I mean, I really see this as a nationwide tool in the future. But yeah, if you zoom out and look at where we are right now, obviously everything is clustered around like Hoboken and the surrounding area, just because like that's where I live and that's, the organizations have reached out to. But look, it's software, right? So you could really use this for any of the 50 states because volunteers can set their location, right? So if you just set your neighborhood to somewhere else, wherever you live, the map is going to default to that part of the world, and you'll just be looking at stuff like near your town. So yeah. I hope that every charity starts using it.
That's great. Just take a look on the map west of Hoboken, and that's how we get into our diocese, St. Paul Inside the Walls, and this podcast is associated with the Diocese of Paterson, which are the 3 counties of Passaic, Morris, and Sussex counties. So hopefully there's people in the Paterson Diocese that are watching this, and if they have nonprofits, they'll sign up and start obtaining volunteers through the program.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, I got to ask, what is your background and how did you get into this? What motivates you?
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe I can show you this. Obviously, cradle Catholic. And probably the craziest Catholic story about me is my confirmation. And this is a picture from my confirmation. So the week of my confirmation in 8th grade, I was in gym class and we're playing, 2-hand touch football. And someone slams into my leg and I break my leg, right? So this is confirmation week for me. It's prom week for my older brother. And things have just become way more complicated for my saintly mother who's trying to, keep everything together. And so, she called the parish office and said, hey, I'm so sorry. Like my son just broke his leg. I guess he'll just do confirmation next year. And so the secretary tells the bishop and the bishop said, no, that's all right. I'll just come to his house. Whoa. So the bishop came to our house and I was confirmed with a broken leg on the couch, which is the craziest thing ever. But obviously I never really forgot that, right? I mean, that stays with you. And I don't think I appreciated it so much at the time because you're a kid and you don't really know like that this doesn't really happen. But it was a great act of mercy that the church didn't really have to do, right? They could have just said, oh, that's terrible. Have them sign up next year. Like totally fine. Like nobody expected this. But it was grace breaking through at like the lowest point of my life. I'm literally like, I have like shattered leg and I can't even walk. And the church came to me in my moment of need to still give me the grace to continue on. So I really see this as my way to give back to the world. I obviously cannot donate my time to every wonderful charity that needs my help, but I can donate an incredible tool that helps you manage the people that want to help you. And so that's another way to think of Charity Quest. Like, sure, it's free. There's a lot of free software. Think of it as a donation, right? I'm donating this to your organization because I know it's going to help you. It's going to save you money if you're paying thousands of dollars for another system, but it's also just going to be a great way for you to manage your organization and invite other people to help in your mission.
Yeah, I think about the mission side of this. A big part of mission in my understanding of evangelization and Catholic social teaching is building up community. So when I look at the map of Hoboken, I see young people getting more involved with their community, knowing more about it, the types of services, the type of goodwill happening throughout the city. I could see this being a community builder, no?
Absolutely. And just on that point about community, what I love to see is when volunteers make friends with other volunteers and serve multiple organizations in the same area and kind of look for each other to see, oh, okay, is Mildred signed up for that one? So something we did recently, and this kind of wrapped, I guess a month ago, but we had our big summer competition called Summer of Heroes, because all this volunteering is tracked in the system, right? So we can actually see like who was the best volunteer, right? So Bert crushed it with 121 hours of volunteering over these 2 months. But the whole time he was kind of like neck and neck with Mildred, and they became great friends, right? And they serve at multiple charities on the network together. So yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of wonderful people just through volunteering, and they're people that I never would have crossed paths with otherwise, because you're just kind of focused on like your life, right? Get up in the morning, go to work, come back home, watch Netflix, right? Like that's a very isolating life. This is a great way to meet the people in your community and have that experience where you're walking on the street and you see people and you recognize them, right? If you don't have that feeling yet, it probably means that you're living kind of an isolated life, right? That you live in a town, but really you live online, right? Or you live at work. So get out there and meet your neighbors. And this is a great way to do it because it's low pressure, right? Everyone's focused on the task that you're working on, but also you see the same faces, right? And you have conversations while you're working. So it's a wonderful way to build community.
Frank, thank you for coming here. Thanks for building this.
Yeah.
For building up our community, for putting your faith into action. If you are in the Patterson Diocese or anywhere, and if you run a nonprofit, this is how you get volunteers. If you are looking to volunteer, this is how you should find out where to. If you currently have a volunteer management platform, this one is free. It's probably better. And then finally, if you want to sign up, take a look at our show notes. And in those show notes, if you're a nonprofit and you want to get started, you can click on the link. If you're a volunteer and you want to get started, you can click on the link. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.